So good morning again and welcome to the HIA-LI Executive Brief for Business Growth. Really how to understand the incentives, the money, the grants, the funding that you can get to grow and build your business. And that initiative for us came from our board chair, Joe Campolo, really understanding the importance of this and having the passion to move this forward. So I'm going to ask him to say a few words about not only that project, but what he sees in terms of the vision. So help us welcome up board chair Joe Campolo.
Good morning, everyone. So 40 years ago, the HIA started, okay? And at the board level, we are going through a process now to refine our vision, our mission, and it's caused us to look at how far we've come as an organization in the last 40 years, right? And as Terry mentioned, how lucky and how special are we to be sitting here today in the second largest industrial park in the country, home to 1,400 businesses, home to 55,000 employees. 1 in 20 employees on Long Island comes to this park every single day to work, to live, to grow, to raise their families. So on behalf of the entire board of directors, who I am so proud to serve with, they are amazing. The folks that are here today, spend time with them. I can tell you that the HIA-LI is alive, it is well, it is in good hands, and our members are truly the most amazing businessmen and women in the world. So I'd like to welcome you today, and this program is so important for everybody that's here and everybody that's not here, which is why we're taping it, so that we can get this out to everybody else. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce our moderator, my good friend, the Honorable Anthony Mineta.
All right, Joe, thank you very much. Terry, thank you. Terry does a fantastic job as the head of this organization. Just give a round of applause for Terry and everything that she does. So today we're here to talk about incentives, grants, opportunities for your company, opportunities for your clients to be able to have them understand what might be available. You know, economic development is always a challenging issue, and especially here on Long Island. I'm the former head of the Suffolk County IDA, where I ran that agency for a couple of years, led the turnaround of the agency. And me being in that position, you really do see and understand all of the issues and the pressures that our companies on Long Island and here in Suffolk County face. You know, we live in a high tax environment. Costs are extremely challenging, especially if you're a manufacturer in a company where your competition is global and operates in other low-cost environments throughout the country. So we have very talented and dedicated economic development professionals that are here. And they do a fantastic job. So we're going to hear from them, have a conversation about the services that they offer. We're going to learn a little bit about the process of how to go about applying for these services, learn about some examples and samples of companies that have received them, so we kind of have an understanding of some sample projects. And you know, there might be some costs involved, there might be some things you need to keep in mind when working with some of the agencies, so we're going to learn about that as well. So let's just get started with some brief introductions, and we're going to go through each of the panelists and they can quickly introduce themselves and what agency they're from, and then we're going to get into their program. Start with Barry.
Well, good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Barry Greenspan. I'm with Empire State Development. ESD is the state's consolidated economic development agency. We have a team of professionals that are located literally about a quarter mile right here in the park on Motor Parkway, and we're here to help companies find competitive solutions to growing here on Long Island, and we're very pleased to be working with the HIA.
And good morning, everybody. I'm John Keating. I'm the manager of economic development and customer experience at PSEG Long Island, and PSEG Long Island operates the electric system on behalf of the owner of the system, Long Island Power Authority. In our area, we work with a lot of commercial businesses, large and small. We have energy efficiency programs to help you lower your operating costs. We have economic development incentives, so I'm really happy to be here and share all that with you today.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Morris. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of the Suffolk County IDA. We are tasked with helping businesses grow, create jobs, and make private capital investment in the county. We help a variety of different companies in manufacturing, distribution, warehousing, and research and development. And we are pleased to be here this morning and thrilled to be working with the HIA-LI. Terry and I have been working closely together on a lot of initiatives and looking for different ways to help the businesses in the park grow as well as outside of the park, and looking to help workforce development growth as well.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lyle Sclair. I'm with National Grid. I oversee the economic development programs for our downstate territory, including Nassau and Suffolk County. And our programs are relatively unique in the utility world, and we've rolled them out at the beginning of last year. So we've only been doing our projects for about a year down here. But I think at our core, when you're the gas company, you are a economic development engine just trying to drive down the cost of utilities and things that you can get from other energy suppliers, just looking at what's out there in the marketplace.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to give an example or a sample company, and then let's see how you guys might be able to help them. That sounds like a good idea. So I am a 50-person manufacturer located in the Hauppauge Industrial Park. We are looking to hire 15 new people. We are making our decisions as to where we're going to expand into, if we're going to stay here in the park, or if we're going to move to that state called New Jersey, who's offering us very aggressive incentives through the Grow New Jersey program. So we come to you guys, everybody gets together in a room, and we're pleading with Governor Cuomo and County Executive Ballone to help keep us on Long Island and in Suffolk County. We're going to be launching a new product line, so we're going to be expanding into a new marketplace. So tell me what you think you might be able to do in helping us make our decision whether to stay here in Suffolk County, invest in new equipment, hire new employees, opposed to looking to leave, which we're getting recruited aggressively to move out of state. What are some ideas and some programs that a type of company can apply for?
Yes, I'll kick it off. But so Empire State Development is very keenly focused on manufacturing. So our primary program that would apply in a case like this would be the Excelsior Jobs Program. Excelsior is a program that provides fully refundable tax credits. So these are not tax credits you carry forward on your books, they're refundable. The tax credits are based on the number of new jobs and the wages of each of the jobs. So we ask you to tell us over the next 5 years, how many jobs are you going to create? If it's 15, we would calculate what the benefits of the tax credits would be for the 15 jobs, and you actually get the credits over the next 10 years. So Excelsior is a fairly easy program to use if you've got a strong project. The first thing we would really want to do is to understand what's driving the project. Number one, can you find the employees here? That's a critical issue here on Long Island. The biggest issue we face right now for manufacturing companies is finding employees. So we really need to understand what's driving the project. As long as we feel that we can provide a cost-effective solution, we would approve you for Excelsior job tax credits. Important that you come to us very early in the process, because once you start the project, you're no longer eligible. Starting the project means announcing it in the press, ordering a piece of equipment, beginning the hiring. So you got to come to us early. It takes us about 60 days to put a contract in your hand. In addition to the Excelsior tax credits, we would probably also talk to you about some training funds, perhaps low-cost electricity through the New York Power Authority program called Recharge New York. We have many manufacturers, in fact, over 200 manufacturers are receiving reduced electric power through the State Power Authority. And in addition, we would sit down with you just like we are right here and then talk about the other programs. In fact, there's a utility program that ties into the state's Excelsior program. So that's a good project for us. Come to us early and we think we can help you.
Great. So if I can continue on with, and I think, yeah, Barry and Anthony kind of characterized that perfectly. We do these partnership meetings very routinely, and it's very common like this. We'll sit around the table, we'll hear from the principals, the owners of the business, and we'll see what the situation is. And then each of us has an array of different programs that might fit the situation the best. So for this example, I agree with Barry. Excelsior is a terrific program. Once a customer makes a commitment with New York State to participate in Excelsior and they meet that commitment, we can then offer them a discount on their energy use for any incremental energy going forward. So the best part about the Excelsior discount we can offer is a zero demand charge on new load. So that works out to be an excellent reduction in cost. And again, we would help you participate in Recharge New York, which is really, it's a New York Power Authority program. We deliver the power for it. Again, it's great for reducing your overall costs. We would also help to send somebody into your facility and look for ways of lowering your existing costs with energy efficiency rebates. And I don't know how many people in the room have participated in our energy efficiency programs. Actually, could I ask for a show of hands? Anybody has participated? I see a few hands coming up. For those of you who have not, I would encourage you to. Please see one of us, as Tim and Walter over here at the table. We would be happy to talk to you about, we'll get somebody in your building to make recommendations on how you can start saving on your costs with an energy efficiency retrofit today. That doesn't necessarily need to be tied in with an economic development program.
Great. So for the Suffolk IDA, the first thing we would ask is whether or not we could tour the facility. We, as a group, and as John and Barry both said, we commonly go together to see clients so that we can inform them of all of the different benefits they can avail themselves of. So we would tour the facility so we have a better understanding about what their needs would be. At the IDA, we offer a suite of financial incentives. So are you looking to purchase the building, sir?
We are looking to purchase, yes.
Oh, great. Okay, so there are 3 different financial incentives, basically, that we offer. They are a mortgage recording tax exemption, a sales tax exemption, and a property tax abatement. So in this particular scenario, he'd be looking to purchase the building in Suffolk County. That tax is 1.05%. So we're able to abate up to 0.75% of that. The remaining portion is the MTA portion, and the governor likes to hold on to that for the rest of the state. So, and then there's the sales tax exemption. Now, again, in this scenario, this is a manufacturer, so all of the manufacturing equipment is already tax exempt, but all of the additional equipping that would need to take place, the shelving and racking in the warehouse, the high-lows, the conference tables, the copiers and printers, all of those capital expenses, we would be able to abate that sales tax, which is 8.625% in the county. So that's pretty substantial. For every $100,000, that's $8,625, and really adds up when people are looking to move or expand or renovate a particular part of their business. And then lastly is the property tax abatement. So we have the ability to do a variety of things. I would say in this case it would likely be a 10-year time period, although in different situations we have what's called a uniform tax exemption policy, which all of the IDAs operate under. They're all on our websites. And it would tell a company specifically where they might fit into what particular category. But I would say most commonly we would do a 10-year. We would be in a position to reduce the increased assessed value of the taxes on the property. Possibly we could freeze those taxes or even reduce those taxes over the 10-year time period. In the end, it ends up to be about a 27% savings on the tax. So you're still paying, the remainder of the taxes over that over that 10-year time period, excuse me. But it really helps companies, especially in the early years when they're suffering the cost of moving and expanding and growing. So I would say those are the top. On top of that, of course, with workforce development, which is a huge issue for all of us here, we would, aside from working with our partners that you see here today, we would also direct our companies to Suffolk County Department of Labor and the different programs that they have, and the Workforce Development Institute, which also is in a position to offer different grants. So we kind of see our responsibility as making sure that our companies know all of the benefits that are available to them to make us competitive.
So in National Grid, you'll see a lot of programs similar to what you have at PSEG, Long Island, but on the gas side. We'd probably first walk in, view the location for energy efficiency. And on the gas side, it's not just your hot water heater, your heating system, but we're going to look at your insulation. We're going to look at your steam traps if you're a manufacturer. Where you're using gas in your process. The next thing is, you tell us you're doing an IDA deal, you're doing Excelsior tax credits. We can reduce the transportation delivery charge on your bill up to 35% under the IDA. And then you actually can earn the lowest rate that we offer through our tariff once you go onto the Excelsior rate. Because sometimes there could be a slight lag to actually getting your tax credit. So we can really extend the benefit when you dovetail the two programs between the IDA and the state. The other thing we can do, because I hear that you're looking at new markets and redoing your plant floor, is that we have 8 grant programs, and not all are applicable to everyone, but we have what's called the Natural Gas Manufacturing Productivity Program, and that leverages the state's MEP program. So it's the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, and on Long Island, it's being run now out of Stony Brook. Dr. Lisa Chichero's here. She can talk about the programs in more depth. But we'll help fund companies looking at lean manufacturing, productivity growth activities, and also looking to fund top-line growth activities in terms of sales, identifying new markets. And we can give grants up to $40,000. And the nice thing is that we can step in a little bit earlier in the process before you start your development, so you make sure you make the right decisions in terms of your long-term growth tied to the IDA and tied to New York State. So it's a very interesting program, and again, it layers other benefits from the state because it comes through the New York State MEP program.
So now I'm the company, and everything sounds great, and thank you very much for your generous offers to help our company grow and stay on Long Island. Barry mentioned that kind of getting to Barry early in the process, and New York State, Empire State, to make sure that you follow the timeline correctly, because you don't want to jump ahead and get one level of benefit, get a great write-up in the Long Island Business News or the Hop Hog Reporter, and then all of a sudden that shows that you might unfortunately negate some other levels of benefits. So let's just talk really quickly again about timeline. What's the best way to approach that so the company doesn't jeopardize any incentives? And then are there any associated costs that the agency has that the company needs to be made aware of as the project is moving forward? And what's a timeline when all this can be completed and effectuated for a company?
Okay, from the state standpoint, there are absolutely no fees for our programs. Everything starts again with that initial meeting. Once we qualify you and say, yes, apply, we'll send you a link for an online application called the New York State Consolidated Funding Application. It allows you to actually apply for both the Excelsior program and Recharge New York in the same single application. We will help you with the application, because once you start it on your end, I can go into my end and see your application as you're completing it. It really does not take that much effort to complete the application if you've got your ducks in a row. I've seen the record holder is actually an HIA member company whose CFA completed, or whose CFO completed our application online in 3 hours. Submitted in 3 hours. He holds the record. But generally speaking, we'll help you with it. We'll work with you on the application. From the time you submit a complete application to us, our management committee meets once a week. It usually takes us about 3 weeks to do the analysis on your project, and then about 60 days to get a contract in your hand. You cannot commence the project until you sign that contract. So our process from the time you submit the application to being able to start is about 60 days.
And then if the company is looking, for real estate or looking to move before they enter into any contracts, real estate contracts, lease agreements, you want to be able to talk to them ahead of that.
Right. It is dangerous to sign a real estate contract, even a letter of interest, prior to speaking to us, because that implies to us that taxpayers may not need to subsidize this project. If you've gone ahead and committed to the real estate, think about it. Why would taxpayers want to subsidize the project? You've already committed to it. In some cases, if you talk to us early, we'll provide you with certain language to put into the contract that makes it subject to our approval. But I will tell you, it is a red flag to us if you've signed any type of agreement to acquire or to lease that real estate. So you need to be very careful of that. Like Anthony said, talk to us very early in the process.
And John, you're in the same. You need to get an early meeting at least.
Definitely. So the same thing applies for us, and it's really the same rationale, right? So the balance here is trying to keep everybody's rates as low as possible. We want to offer economic development incentives, but if you've already committed to a project, you've made that financial commitment, you've already signaled that you're buying a building or whatever it might be, then it's hard for us to really justify that this is a good use of ratepayer money, right? So talk to us beforehand, even if you're not sure or you think you might do a project, come talk to us. We'll at least lay out for you what you should do. And just the fact that from our standpoint, there's no official application at that point. All you have to do is talk to us and let us know what the project is. That kind of covers you. So I would encourage you, again, just if you're not even sure, or you're thinking about a project, give us a call. We'd be happy to talk to you.
Great. Same applies with the IDA. We would need to hear from you early and meet with you, and it's, again, the same rationale, so I won't reiterate that. But we do operate a little bit differently. We are a transaction-based agency. All of our fees come from our clients, and that's our operating budget. We don't use taxpayer dollars at all to operate the IDA. So for the projects, what we would do initially, we would determine the project cost. Those costs include the purchase of the building, the cost to renovate, and any of the equipping that would take place inside that is eligible for any of our financial incentives. Our fees, there's an application fee, which is refundable at the closing table. And the administrative fee is 0.75% of a basis point. So for every $1 million of cost in the project, that would be $7,500. In addition to the administrative fee, there are transaction counsel that we work with. So the clients are also responsible for that. Generally, when we're involved with a client, it's part of a larger real estate transaction. So it's really important that everybody's interests are protected, and there's quite a bit of paperwork that goes along with that transaction. So that's what our counsel would actually draft all of those documents, and the client's attorneys would review them. One of the things we do at our IDA is we run a cost-benefit analysis on the front end to make sure that it's worthwhile for the clients and that there is tremendous benefit financially for you. We're not in the business of working with you and having you come out of it and say, well, that was an awful lot of effort and paperwork for very little return. So we'll have that conversation with you. We'll demonstrate all of that ahead of time. Our application is rather extensive. However, it looks worse than it is. We work very closely with our clients on completing that. We will review it and draft. You do not need to hire counsel or have a broker fill that out. Again, as Barry says, one of the officers of the company or principal or owner. In several cases in the park, I have gone to different businesses and sat with the owner on several occasions, one in particular who wanted it just perfectly. So I use that as my case study.
Though there are very highly qualified consultants and lawyers in the room who I'm sure can assist.
I'm sorry, there are.
With this
there
project,
actually are.
if you ever need the help.
There are. Sorry. And for many people that are too busy, it's actually a very good service for folks that just don't have that kind of time, because it is an extensive document. Anyway, once that's filled out and officially submitted to us, we would then invite the client to come to our board meeting. Our board meetings are once a month on the fourth Thursday of the month. Ours is a 2-meeting process. So you would come, you would present your project to the board, and at the end of that presentation, there would be a Q&A. They would then make a motion to pass what we call preliminary resolution to accept your project. At that point, that kind of gets things moving for us as staff, because we then need to do a 10-day notice for a public hearing, so that we notify all of the local taxing jurisdictions of what the impending transaction would look like. Once that is accomplished or achieved, and generally we do that in between 2 meetings, The very next meeting, we would go back before the board, not necessary for the clients to join us, but always welcome. We would present any information we heard at that public hearing or received in writing, which would then give the board the information they need to make a motion to pass what we call an authorizing resolution. At that point, you're free to enter into a lease or a contract. And we work very much like the state and the utilities in that if there is a timing issue, which we are seeing more and more of in the park because of how limited the real estate is, you can put language in there subject to that allows for your process to move parallel to ours. But one of the things we pride ourselves on, and we always say, is that we move at the speed of business, and we generally are not the agency or the people that hold up a closing. It's usually something else. So for us, it can be, again, probably about 60 days. We work very closely with Barry and with John and with Lyle because our timing is so close. In fact, I asked Barry about a project this morning. So when I know they're on our agenda and they're working closely with the ESD, I'll give Barry a call and say, you know, is everything submitted? Are we good to go? And we try to look out for the clients in that way as well. Does that answer your question?
Very good.
Okay,
Lyle.
So for our programs, there is no cost. And again, we usually sit down at the initial meeting. And I think what I like to do is if you were to bring National Grid to the meeting, you'll get an introductory email that says, here are all of our programs, our energy efficiency, our economic development programs, and also, I think more importantly, getting your gas service either established or an account created. So that way, I think as executives, you know, we're drowning in email. So everything's in one email, which I think makes life a lot easier. You don't have to deal with multiple folks. Depending on the program, we have different timelines. I think for so we have two programs where you don't really need to notify us in advance. So on your table, we passed around our prescriptive energy efficiency program. So that's if you're going out and you're buying, you know, a new water heater, a new HVAC unit that's kind of off the shelf. If it meets certain standards, you can go online and request a rebate. But if you're doing anything on the custom level, you know, you're a food manufacturer, you're putting in some innovative technology, we want to talk to you in advance of what you're doing because we have to evaluate that project to really figure out what the energy savings can be on that type of project, or if you're doing significant installation or very large, you know, you're upgrading a larger number of steam traps, et cetera. So we want to talk to you in advance. Also for our reduced rate program, what we're really looking for is the IDA sign-off or the New York State sign-off. There's a timeline actually after your completion. You have, I believe, 6 months after you enter into an agreement with an IDA or with the state to apply for the program. But we'll usually be in contact with them and we'll follow up in a timely fashion to make sure that you move on with that application. It's a one-page application and it's pretty straightforward. For other grants, I think what I'm starting to see is the biggest delay is just communicating back and forth with the applicant. With the program that I mentioned before, our natural gas manufacturing productivity program, we'll probably have an introductory meeting and you'll say, oh, we're looking at this. What I would then is direct the business to talk to the folks over at Stony Brook and then return back with their completed contract from Stony Brook. So the delay may be in just trying to figure out what your exact scope of work is. For other grants, a lot of, you know, unless you're dealing with a consultant, you're not really, business owners are not economic developers, and we want to minimize the paperwork. So we'll take a lot of the documentation, your budget, things of that nature that you submit to New York State, and then on the back end, I'll reevaluate it to make sure what are the exact eligible costs, and I'll confirm that with you before we send a contract. And I think that's one of the other added benefits of our program is we just don't send you an email saying, hey, you have a grant from National Grid for $250,000. We'll actually send you a hard contract, so then you can call up the folks at, let's say, New York Business Development or the Rod Skolmacher's group and say, hey, you know, I need financing. I have a $250,000 grant once I complete my project, but I need the capital right now. You have proof that you have a commitment from the utility that we're going to pay you when you're done. So I think that's a little different.
Gotcha. Great. This is going to be for Barry. So Terry mentioned about the Regional Economic Development Council. Governor Cuomo has rolled out this competitive program throughout New York State where the various regions compete for a pool of economic development dollars that the state allocates. Barry, if you could just talk a little bit about the REDC, the Regional Economic Development Council, and how can, I know that there's a lot of public institutions and colleges and universities that apply and get those types of monies, but what can a private sector company, a manufacturer or software developer, can they access any money through the REDC competitive round?
Sure. So the Regional Council is the governor's vision to bring economic development down to the local level. So this is the 7th year. We just completed the 7th round of funding. We have funded about 580 projects and brought approximately $600 million back to Long Island. Everything from building large research facilities at Cold Spring Harbor Labs and at Stony Brook, down to small companies who have received grants or loans to buy new equipment. So it really runs the gamut. But like Anthony said, most of the investments have been to provide the research and build the research assets at our large research institutions. Because quite frankly, that's what attracts companies to Long Island. That's what helps companies when they need to use a Cairo electron microscope. They need to know that there's several here to use. If they need to use the National Synchrotron Light Source, they need to know that those assets are here to use. So the Regional Council is focused very much on building those kinds of public research assets. But every year we do a regional plan. So round 7, our regional plan is available. If anyone wants it, it's online as well. But the process is really a grassroots process. So we have a regional council that are appointed by the governor. Its co-chairs on Long Island are Kevin Law of the Long Island Association and Stuart Rabinowitz at Hofstra University. So they really guide the regional council. And every year there's a funding opportunity. It's only once a year. It will open up in early May. We'll announce the round in early May. Also importantly, in that round, we're going to announce what different pots of money are available. And each year it changes a little bit. But keep in mind that most of the uses of regional council funding are for hard assets. They're for equipment, they're for machinery, they're for buildings, they're for research institutions, but companies can apply as well. We funded dozens and dozens of small companies throughout the rounds. In fact, we call each of the round, we call this our business bundle. And those are the businesses that apply for regional council funding during the round. And we usually tell companies, we can be a little more generous to you with state resources if you come in during a funding round. Because the catch is, and it's not really a catch, you can apply in the summer, so applications are typically due sometime in July. The governor does not announce the winners of the competition until December. So that presents a challenge for a business. You don't make investment decisions based on the governor's timetable. You make investment decisions based on your business. So we will always help you outside the round. 365 days a year, if you come to us, we will give you a decision outside the funding round. But if you have a project, particularly a large project, and you can wait to apply during the round, it usually provides you with a more interesting result. We can do a higher funding level, we can be a little more generous on the state resources to provide to you, and that's because it's the funding round, it's a statewide competition. We're competing against Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Utica, Albany, New York City. And we've done very well. As Terry had said, we've won 5 of the last 7 rounds. So keep in mind, in a couple of months, and we'll let the HIA know, they can put it in the reporter, and do an email out to everyone. A funding round will open up. We expect, again, statewide to have about $750 million up for competition. It's a very, very intense competitive round, but if you have a really strong project, this is the time to come talk to us. We also have a number of work groups that guide the regional council on decision making. So there's approximately 400 people that are involved in various work groups, ranging from Global New York, to innovation and industry, to small business, to workforce and education. So if you wanted to become involved in one of the work groups, talk to us. We can talk to the council leadership and get you onto a work group. But it's an interesting process. We would invite everyone to be more involved, and HIA has always been very involved in that process, so you're well represented on the regional council.
Excellent, thank you. Kelly, this is for you. So County Executive Ballone has been very aggressive and visionary with his economic development work, whether it be Connect Long Island to transit-oriented developments. Here in the Hauppauge Industrial Park, there's new studies that are going to be rolled out with RPA talking about how the park can adapt to some of the changing landscape across Long Island in terms of multifamily housing and mixed use. So at the IDA, you guys are a lot of the implementers of, tax savings and abatements for companies. Is there any project that you've worked on over the last couple of years that you're proud of, that you could talk about, a company that might have been leaving, or a pharmaceutical company? I know that's been a big trend lately. I don't know if there's anything you want to talk about, any projects that you've had.
Wow, there's so many. Let's see, I always like to talk about Contract Pharmacal. They are an amazing company in the park. They are a family-owned business. They are owned by the same family today that they were in 1971 when they started. We got involved with helping them, I think it was back in the mid-90s, late 90s. And since that time, they now have 6 buildings in the park. They are a global company. They have R&D facility in India that recently opened up. And they are up to over 1,000 employees. They have over 4,500 products. And they are just a great company. We've worked with them closely. We've included them. We did recently a video talking about Suffolk County and the different projects, and Mark Wolf was part of that video, so if anybody is interested, you can take a look at that. But I really think they're one of the great companies. And we are seeing a tremendous cluster and expansion in the pharma nutra industry as being supported by ESD as well, so, and most especially here in the park.
And so the types of companies that can apply for these suite of benefits across all these agencies, manufacturers, software developers.
Sure. So we talked about manufacturing, warehouse, distribution, but the specific sectors include, again, pharma, nutra, biotech, oh gosh, there's so many different. We recently, a bakery that supplies, baked goods to all of the delis across Long Island, gun holsters. There are so many different things that are being manufactured on Long Island that it's really exciting to see. And touring the companies, we really is the best part of the job, and something that we get to share.
And Barry, what type of industries can apply, and who can't apply for state?
Right, we can help pretty much any manufacturer. The only companies we cannot help under our regulations are retail businesses and overnight lodging and housing. Other than that, pretty much any company is eligible as long as the products that they're manufacturing or distributing go off the island. So in other words, if your entire business is in Nassau and Suffolk County, really, we can't use taxpayer dollars to help you because you're here because your market is here. But as long as you have a case that you can make where you can locate off the island, we can assist you.
And PSE&G, you have a program for retail
So
you just rolled out?
We have programs that can help everybody. So
Okay.
I'm happy to answer that one. So economic development-wise, yes, the economic development credits are only available to non-retail businesses, very similar to New York State, because that's kind of what the demographic is driving the retail. But retailers can still work with us for energy efficiency rebates. So if you want to reduce your operating costs and upgrade your lighting and lower your costs, we can help you with rebates to buy down that cost of that investment for you. We do have a new program for small business, small retail that we just opened up as a pilot. So I'd be happy to talk with, it's not really applicable so much to here at the park, but if anybody wants to talk about that later, we'll be happy to talk about that as well.
Great. Lyle?
So our programs are targeted again towards the industrial, commercial world. We were specifically told, not asked, but told not to fund housing, which I think is kind of unique in the economic arena, especially in the downstate area. So we have $2 million for Long Island, and none of it can go to housing. So I think that makes it really attractive to our core constituency, our commercial industrial customers, where you're not going to be competing for against some of the larger affordable housing projects. That being said, we can fund some retail. We have a long-standing program that dates back to our legacy company, Brooklyn Union Gas, our Cinderella program. So we can look at a mixed-use project that has housing and a retail component to revitalize vacant buildings. That's the key word. It has to be a vacant building. We can segregate the cost and fund the retail development of the building. We've also been looking at that program for industrial spaces, but with I think it's 3% vacancy right now in the park, it's pretty rare to find a building that's been vacant for more than a year. But if you do happen to find a building like that anywhere on the island, we can assist in the redevelopment. I see Riverheads saying, we have a couple out there. So we'll be more than happy to give grants to rehab older buildings. Other programs that we have that we didn't cover is that we do offer a brownfield grant. We also have grants to get infrastructure to the building, especially as you move further east on the island. Probably you're looking at the William Floyd Parkway. We might have pipes in the ground, but that does not always mean that we can provide service day one. So we may need to do upgrades. We can offset some of those costs, and we're looking at a very large development in Brookhaven to support. The key with anything is really bringing us in early and letting us see your operations, because it's not a one size fits all. And sometimes if I can't provide something, I know to call the IDA, I know to call Workforce Development Institute, I know to call the state and tailor, help you with your story. Because I think that's the key, in economic development. What is your story? What is your growth? Why should we care? And I think, it may not always get reported in Newsday, is that we're not operating in a vacuum. It's what Anthony said, is that you are getting incentives from other states, other countries to move and relocate your business. So we'll help you with refining your story as well.